3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hello, and welcome to today's live webcast. My name is Reese Hill, and I'm the Manager of Product and Service Marketing for Construction Aftermarket Solutions. And I'm joined here today by Brent Battaglia, Sales Leader for Construction Aftermarket Solutions. And today, we're going to be talking to you about fluids and filters and best practices for you to implement in your day-to-day business to ensure the health and well-being of your case equipment. But before we dig into that, I need to cover some housekeeping notes. We'll be having a general, high-level discussion today on fluids and filters and best practices. Now, every machine and every job has nuances to it that make it unique. It is important that you always reference your owner's manual or your local case dealer for information related to your specific needs. Your local dealer can also put together a program or regimen of parts you need to support your equipment. If you don't have your owner's manual, you can still get one. If you go to kce.com, at the bottom of the page, all the way in the bottom right-hand corner, you will see a link for manuals. If you click on that, it'll take you to a dedicated website where you can purchase the manual for the equipment you're looking for. And last but not least, we will take all the information we covered today and a link to this recording and send it to you via email in the next couple days. That way you can reference it at a later time or share with friends and family. So with that, I think we can jump right in. So you've heard it before, we've heard it before. Engine oil is engine oil, hydraulic fluid is hydraulic fluid, coolant is coolant. But nothing could be further from the truth, especially today. Each equipment you own in your fleet is an investment of tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars into your operation, and the fluids and filters you use is a small investment that keeps that big investment moving. So Brent, I think what we do is we started off with an easy one. Why is proper lubrication and filtration important?
Thanks, Reese, and thanks everyone for joining us today. What it comes down to is the heavy-duty nature of the work that our equipment does. We're talking about the 30-60-90 rule. What does that mean? No, it's not about mileage. What it means is that it's the utilization of available horsepower. So a car, for instance, uses 30% of the available horsepower at any given time. A truck or semi or dump truck uses 60% of the available horsepower at a given time. But heavy equipment, construction machinery is using 90% of the available horsepower at a given time. So what does this really mean? What it means is there's much more stress and wear being put on the engine, the fluids, the filters, and the machine as a whole. So using filters or fluids from automotive or trucking are not interchangeable with those for our equipment. What will happen was they'll wear out more quickly, affecting performance. They also could cause damage to the machine and its components. It is absolutely critical, and we cannot emphasize this enough, to use fluids and filters specifically formulated and designed for heavy equipment. So what happens if we don't achieve proper lubrication and filtration? Well, what happens is wear parts fail before reaching their life expectancy, and if wear parts fail, such as bearings, bushings, chains, that could lead to costly downtime. We all know that downtime kills productivity and profitability. You could also run into problems without complete failure, such as improper lubrication, which can lead to increased heat, which leads to increased wear. So be sure to take the time to make sure you're using the right filters and fluids and staying ahead of your preventative maintenance schedules. If it's not your busy season yet, bring your machine to your local case dealer for a full inspection and fluid testing before your season picks up. The easiest way to ensure that you're using the right products is using Case OEM-approved filters and fluids, which can only be found at your local case dealer. Using the OEM product ensures that the work done delivers the protection and performance intended and within warranty.
It's great points, Brent, and we'll get into the advantages of using OEM components here towards the end. But before we do that, we should probably talk to some best practices to ensure the health and performance of your equipment. So with that, our equipment can't talk to us per se, but there's a lot that it can tell us. And while there's a lot that we can learn through telematics, sometimes the age-old eye test is your best bet to identify any issues related to fluids and filters before they lead to a significant downtime event. With that, we highly recommend that everybody does their daily operational checks, their pre- and post-operational checks every time a machine is utilized. This is going to be your chance to identify any issues before they become a downtime event. You may identify broken hoses, damaged filters, pooled fluids, whatever it might be. Identifying those up front and notifying your fleet management staff or your local case dealer as needed is a good step towards keeping that machine up and running. The other things to check are the levels of hydraulic oil, engine oil, coolant. If you see a sudden drop in any of those fluids, it may indicate other damage that has happened that you can't see. Another piece to keep in mind is as temperatures change, as we're changing in the seasons, the hydraulic fluid levels and the coolant levels need to be kept up to their full marks. It is important that coolant systems run at their capacity today because introduction of oxygen into those systems can lead to further damage. So it's a great point to always review that on a daily basis. So as we talk towards the changing of the seasons, one other question we get asked quite frequently is synthetic versus conventional oil, and what are the differences? Can you help us understand that today, Brent?
Yep, that's a great question, Reese. We're hearing more and more about synthetic these days. Synthetic oil costs more upfront, but the advantages they provide are significant. First of all, it allows for easier starting. It also provides better protection during the extreme cold or hot temperatures. So it doesn't matter whether you're in upper Canada in the middle of winter or if you're in Texas in the middle of summer. Additionally, it extends service life. Conventional oil, you're supposed to change around every 300 hours, while synthetic can last up to 500 hours. This equals better protection and less downtime, which is plenty to justify the cost of a synthetic.
So you mentioned a couple times about changing of formulations or changing of fluids and whatnot. When we talk about service intervals, another question that we get asked quite frequently is, are they hard and fast rules or merely suggestions or guidelines to go by? What do you say to that?
While there's a lot of factors you should consider with your machine and when to do the service, ultimately we say that service intervals are really not suggestions, but they should be followed as rules. Just like you do with your oil change or your tire rotation, do them on schedule, just like it recommends in your manual. This helps ensure the productivity and health of your equipment and make sure it lasts long. This is easier than ever with our new SiteWatch telematics. It helps you keep track of engine hours and service intervals, and you and your dealer can set and receive alerts so you can stay ahead of scheduling and schedule it during your downtime. So why is this important? So let's look at hydraulic oil as an example. Equipment owners who generally put low hours on a machine each year have been known not to follow the recommendations to change the oil every so many hours. But if the climate has temperature changes, hydraulic oils that sit may absorb moisture from condensation and retain that as contamination, introducing water and contamination into all of the systems that the hydraulic oil touches. This is why the 1% water tolerance of our high-tran premium is extremely important. Similarly with filters, if filters are not changed when they're supposed to, the buildup of contaminants can fill the filter. Once the filter is filled, the particles have nowhere else to go, so they go straight through to the critical systems. So while this might not cause a problem immediately, it's like a cancer. It'll build up over time and cause deterioration and contamination, which will ultimately end up leading to failure.
So you talk a lot about, changing of fluids and changing of filters and whatnot. The other thing that changes sometimes is formulations. So one thing that we've seen or noticed in the industry is as we go to Tier 4 engines or as engine tiering changes, there's also a change in the coolant technology as well. As our users today, or as our viewers go around and start to inspect their machines and potentially top off their coolant reservoirs on a daily basis, what do they need to understand from a coolant standpoint, specifically related to OAT coolants?
So many of our machines today are switching to OAT coolant. OAT stands for Organic Additive Technology. The primary benefit of OAT is increased protection and better performance. If your machine was factory filled with OAT, there will be a decal near the fill point that indicates the use of OAT as well as its brand or formulation. This is important for two reasons. First, conventional coolants cannot be mixed with OAT coolants as it can lead to gelling. I cannot emphasize this enough. It is extremely important that we do not mix them. Additionally, other brands can cause issues if they don't match the material spec of the factory coolant. Mixing brands can diminish extended life properties and cause other compatibility issues. If you decide to change from one coolant technology to another type, be sure to flush the system 3 times before adding the new coolant.
So you bring up contamination a couple times here. One other thing that comes to mind is the tolerances and performance of these new fluids and filters demand a level of cleanliness, more or less. As we see fleets with large equipment, should fleet managers or should fleet management staff look at a fluid testing regimen? And if so, how do they go about implementing one?
Yes, absolutely. Fluid analysis or fluid testing is extremely important. It involves taking a sample and sending it to the lab where they do a bunch of tests on it. The tests identify the overall condition of the fluid plus any contaminants. The reports that you get give you a heads up on any potential problems, such as ineffective air filtration to deteriorating bearings. One sample is a snapshot in time, but the real value is doing it over and over and over so you can establish a trend and then look at trend analysis over time. For engine oil, we suggest doing samples every 250 hours, and for hydraulic oil, we suggest doing samples every 500 hours. For coolant, we suggest doing it annually. CNH has a 4-in-1 fluid analysis test kit available from CNH. This gives you everything you need, including the testing material, the packaging, postage, everything else. Then you get a report within 24 hours generally, which provides you the codes and troubleshooting recommendations as well as severe findings. The long-term benefit of doing fluid analysis or fluid testing is that it maintains or increases your resale value because it details the life of the machine and the maintenance that was done over time and the condition the machine was in. It's very similar to what you see when you go to buy a car. You look at a report card of sorts and see that, okay, this machine was well taken care of, and you're reassured before you go and buy that. This is very similar with equipment. Please work with your local dealer to schedule this and make it part of your normal preventative maintenance work.
And with that, Brent, I think your case dealer can make this very, very easy for you. Now, whether it's Case ProCare, which is a 3-year, 2,000, which includes a 3-year, 2,000-hour planned maintenance coverage, or any of the other planned maintenance offerings across our dealer network, our dealers can become an extension of your fleet management practices and help you make sure that the job is done and done right. This ensures that you have costs that are predictable and you truly understand your total cost of operation. Also, with Case ProCare or any other planned maintenance, it's important that you have a Case SiteWatch telematics activation with it as well, and grant your dealer access to that information. They can be an additional set of eyes on your machines to help you watch for planned maintenance needs or any other issues that may lead to downtime events in the future. Working with a Case dealer ensures that a certified Case technician does the work on your machine within warranty and OEM specifications. And last but not least, it also ensures that they use genuine OEM-approved fluids and filters, just to bring our conversation full circle today. Genuine OEM fluids and filters are tested, validated, and approved by our engineers to ensure that they work with your equipment, giving you confidence in the health and performance of your machine throughout its lifetime. Using non-OEM approved fluids and filters may compromise the performance of your equipment, leading to decreased productivity and increased total cost of operation. Working with your dealers, you know and trust that they will take care of your machine just like us are the ones that built it for you. Your dealers will use approved OEM fluids and filters along with a Case certified technician to be a one-stop shop to ensure the health and uptime of your equipment. And we're making it even easier for you every single day. We have recently launched a new bulk fluid delivery of OEM approved fluids. You can work with your local Case dealer to get set up on this program today. Your dealer can also set you up with a ready stock locker, which would have the parts and filters needed at a moment's notice on your job. And last but not least, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the one-stop shop, which is our new e-commerce site. Our new e-commerce site allows you to go in, find the parts, fluids, and filters you need for your equipment by model, effortlessly put them into a cart and check out. Your Case dealer takes care of the rest and will deliver the parts to you as needed.
Thank you very much, Brent and Reese. Reese, I think you and I need to renegotiate our contracts. It's not fair that guys like us are on camera with hair as good as Brent's. Thank you all again for joining us here today. And a couple of pieces of housekeeping to go over before we get into the live Q&A part. Right now, through the end of the year, every time that you use your Productivity Plus card to buy any of the fluids, filters, parts, attachments that these guys talked about here today, you will be entered to win an awesome prize package from CNH Industrial Capital that includes steaks and a brand new Traeger pellet grill. So that's an excellent, in addition to the great advantages of OEM approved fluids and filters, that's another great reason to use your Productivity Plus card. Another important thing to know is that here now through the end of March at participating Case dealers, you can get 15% off of filters with a qualifying purchase of genuine lubricants and coolants, again, at participating Case dealers and with up to 120 days special financing. With that, I would like to introduce a third member of our panel this morning, Aaron Booth, Program Manager with Construction Aftermarket Solutions. And with that, gentlemen, we're going to dive into our live Q&A. First question that came in this morning is from a regular viewer of ours, Chad. And Chad, I think this is one that we will answer offline. What is the part number of the oil test kit? These guys are smart. I don't know that they know the part number off the top of their head. We will email that to you here right after the show. But another question did come in, and we touched on it. Where can I get an oil test kit or a fluid test kit?
I'll take that one. You can get it from your local dealer. So just if you go to our website and look for your local dealer, give them a call or visit their local showroom, and they can get one for you.
And Bill, just for reference, the part number is SG4-pack. It's very simple and easy.
I was wrong. Reese Hill to the rescue as always. Reese is awesome. Another question here coming from James. Can I use Hytran in place of TCH in an older machine?
Aaron, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll start. I mean, first off, it never hurts to talk to your dealer when choosing the right fluid for your machine. With that said, Hytran is backwards compatible to our legacy equipment. It's been tested to work and mix with older fluids. So you should have no issues using our Hytran Premium. But depending on your application, it's always the best bet to start with your dealer and make sure you're using the right fluid in your machine.
Another question here coming from the audience at home, and we touched on this a bit earlier, but if the question is, if I lost an owner's manual, how do I go about getting a new one?
Yeah, I can take that one again, Bill. So if you go to kce.com, if you go down to the bottom of the page and all the way to the right, you will see a link that says manuals. If you click on that manual, it'll drive you to our document management center where you can purchase any manual you need for any piece of equipment that you have. Case equipment you have, I should clarify.
This one goes back to that discussion about case-approved fluids and filters. Question from a viewer at home. How does case qualify filters, or what types of testing are filters put through? I think what they're asking is, how do we qualify that these filters are good for our case equipment?
Yeah, so I would start off by saying that our OEM filters are manufactured to meet our specifications for quality, as well as the microns inside of it. So the particulate matter, the material that's inside of that filter is important. That's the most important part of it. So our filters are designed to meet strict regulations and specifications to work with our engines.
Excellent, excellent. Another question here from the audience at home. Does SiteWatch actually monitor the quality of fluid, or is it monitoring just the hours?
I can take that one again, Bill. So again, we can learn a lot from SiteWatch, but unfortunately, we don't get specific information related to the fluids and filters. We can get engine hours, we can get fault codes and CAN data, but we can't get information related to specific fluid on the machine. That's where fluid testing comes into hand, though.
Excellent. And that part number again?
SG4-pack. It's very easy. Yep.
Perfect. Do I need to take any special considerations with how I store my fluid?
Sure. Yeah. Storing is always an interesting conversation. Obviously, when you're storing any kind of fluid, you should always be considerate of the environment that it's in. You don't want to subject our fluids, or any fluid really, to high temperatures or low temperatures that can degrade the quality of the fluid. So temperatures, environment, obviously you want to have a closed system. You don't want to invite any kind of dust or any of the materials into that fluid as well. So
we touched on this one a bit, but it seems to be a popular topic. What do I do if I have added the wrong coolant to my machine?
If you do happen to do that, first thing, always check with your dealer, make sure that they're in agreement with the suggested route on how to fix it. But we always suggest flushing the entire system 3 times using distilled water just to be safe. But again, at that point, follow up with your dealer. Suggest doing an inspection just to make sure everything's okay.
And another coolant question is coming here. The type of water used when mixing coolant from concentrate, is it important what type of water is used?
Yes, I'll take that one too. It is very important. Distilled water is what you want to use. If you do use like tap water, for instance, there's contaminants in there. There's different particles. So the best way to do it is to use distilled water.
We've got a question here from another viewer at home. How many operating hours before a change out of a filter, and are your filters made of glass media?
So I guess I can answer the question on the change out. The change out is every, I guess it depends on the fluid more or less. Engine oil is about every 500 hours. Hydraulic fluid can be anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 hours. As far as the media that's in the filters, trying to think, Brent, do you know that one off the top?
It's a microlock media. I'm not sure if there's glass contained on part of it, but that's something we can follow up with that person about.
Another question that has come in, and this goes back to the coolant question before. What are the differences between the new coolant and the old coolant? The color is different. Does that matter?
Well, I can take that one. The color could be different, but I wouldn't entirely rely on the color. Look at the label on your machine. As we said earlier, it's Tier 4 and newer is using the oat coolant. Tier 3 and older is you're okay to use the inorganic coolant. The typical kind of heavy duty diesel engine coolant. So it's what's different about them. It's just that organic versus inorganic. They don't mix together. That oat coolant is going to do a lot better job on the smaller tolerances that we have in our Tier 4 and newer engines.
Thank you, Aaron. Another question that come here from the folks at home. Is there really a difference in the filter media between the case-approved version versus what I buy off the shelf?
Yes, absolutely. And Brent mentioned it before. Our filters do have a microlock media inside of them, which is better than the standard paper media that you might see. Oftentimes, what you really need to look for is the microns or the level of filtration that a filter does. Ours are a little bit tighter, a little bit more narrow to make sure that no contaminants are getting within that fluid.
And we've got one more question here in the queue from the folks at home. If you've got any other questions, now would be the time to get it in.
Yep.
Question here is, does Hy-Tran Premium change color when contaminated by water?
It does change color. So our new Hy-Tran Premium once has been contaminated by water. While it does hold up to 1% of water of its volume, it will turn kind of a cloudy color when water is introduced, and there's really a notification for you to address the fact that you're getting water into your hydraulic fluid.
One other question here has come in from home. You guys didn't bring up DEF diesel exhaust fluid. Does Case have OEM DEF? And I think a separate question is any advice on how it should be stored?
Yeah, so back to that earlier question about the storage. DEF is very susceptible to changing of temperatures. Within our equipment, we actually have heaters on a lot of our DEF tanks that will warm the fluid up if it's frozen, right? If you consider DEF as urea and water, basically, it's susceptible to freezing. So it's very important in how you store your DEF.
That last call for questions did the trick. One other question here from the folks at home. James wants to know, can you change 1030 skid steer hydraulic fluid to Hy-Tran?
Can you change, so the hydraulic fluid that's used in the machines?
Yeah, I can take that one. Again, check with your dealer. There's some cases where your skid steer will call for a new Hy-Tran Premium fluid. There are other cases where it might call for it's a HV68 fluid. It really depends on the hydraulic motors on your skid steer. So yeah, that's definitely one to check with your dealer and make sure you're using the most up-to-date fluid.
Excellent. And that brings to an end our questions from home. If you do have any questions that we didn't get to here today, certainly you can follow up on kce.com and contact us in any of the number of different contact ways there on site. And we've got a couple of exciting events coming up. I'll drop the link to the next one here. We're going to play out with a video that details that new Hy-Tran hydraulic fluid. But our next big event is going to be April 21st, where we're going to have an exciting brand new product and technology announcement for you. I can't tell you what it is. You will certainly know soon enough. And with that, thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Reese, Brent, and Aaron, for your time. And thank you, most importantly, for spending some time with us today. We will talk to you on the next one. Thank you, and have a great day.
When you step into your local Case dealer this year, you'll find a new hydraulic transmission oil option, Hy-Tran Premium. You may think that all hydraulic oil is created equal, but Hy-Train Premium provides specific benefits that enhance the performance, productivity, and health of your construction equipment. Hy-Train Premium is designed to keep transmission, axles, and hydraulic systems free of deposits while inhibiting wear, corrosion, noise, sludge, and foaming. It also features industry-leading heat tolerance and 1% water tolerance with very low additive dropout, as well as superior oxidation stability, shear stability, and wear protection, and improved shipping. It will prevent rust, sticky hydraulic valves, flow restrictions, and gear wear. Maybe most importantly, it's case engineered and specifically tested and built specifically for your case equipment. It's even backwards compatible with the ability to work in all generations of machines, allowing you to standardize one hydraulic oil for your entire case fleet. For more information on the all-new Hy-Train Premium Hydraulic Transmission Oil, contact your local case dealer and learn more at mycnhistore.com.